The following program is a presentation of the Ohio School Boards Association.
The ink is barely dry on Ohio's newest budget bill, and it brings a number of changes that school board members should have on their radar. While we'll be sharing more detailed guidance in the weeks ahead, today's episode of the Legal Ledger Sidebar focuses on a few key updates related to student attendance and enrollment. I'm joined today by attorneys from OSBA's legal division, Sara Clark and Jenny Hardin. And by the way, I'm OSBA's Communications Member Relations Deputy Director, Scott Gerfen. So thank you again for being here.
Thanks for having us. Always glad to be here, Scott.
So Sara, I wanted to kick something off. It's a bit unexpected in the education space with some of the changes in this budget are related to ice hockey.
Ice hockey, yeah. Believe it or not, hockey made it into the budget bill this year. And so, it may not be the most earth-shattering change we saw in the 3,000 plus pages of the legislative language, but we've already received some questions about it, so we thought it would be a good one for us to talk about. So there's a new section in the revised code, and here's what it does. So if a student lives in a district that doesn't offer ice hockey, but a neighboring district within 20 miles of that district does offer ice hockey, the superintendents of the two districts can agree to let the student who doesn't have ice hockey in their district join the other district's ice hockey team.
So are there any rules to this? Does the student have to enroll in the district that offers the ice hockey? Are there other requirements that they must meet to make all this work?
Yeah, those are great questions. So they can do this without requiring the student to enroll in the district, and the student doesn't have to be a resident of the ice hockey district in order to be eligible to participate on the team. But there are still some guardrails to this. The student has to be of the right age and the right grade level. They still have to try out for the team just like anyone else, and they have to meet the same academic, non-academic, and financial requirements as anybody else on the team.
And this only applies to ice hockey, right? It does not apply to, say, basketball, football, or any of the other sports.
Yeah, you got it. That it is a brand new section of the revised code, and it was written to only apply to ice hockey.
And Jenny, I understand that this not the only athletics-related eligibility change that we saw in the budget bill. Can you tell us a little about some of the other changes that will be taking effect in this area?
Yeah, sure, Scott. Under a law that became effective just last fall, students who are either home educated or attending a non-public school or even a different public school district could participate in interscholastic sports at a different district if they were victims of certain qualifying offenses. So a student in one public school district could participate in football, baseball, ice hockey, in another district if they were a victim of one of those offenses. The offenses are things like educator misconduct, harassment, bullying, violence. So that became effective last October. In the budget bill, which becomes effective this coming October, that exception has been significantly reduced. It now applies only to students who are home educated.
So that sounds like a pretty big shift. So now only home educated students can use this option to join a school's athletic program if one of those serious offenses has happened, correct?
That's correct. The carve-out doesn't apply as broadly as it did or it does currently under the law. It's just applying now to home educated students and allowing them to participate in a school's athletic program where it formerly applied to a much bigger group. So districts are going to want to review their policies and their practices to make sure that they recognize that this exception now applies to a much smaller group of students.
And I assume that OSBA's policy team will also be updating model policies over the next few months to help bring them in alignment with this change, right?
That's correct. They will be working on updating those policies as we speak.
All right, shifting gears from athletics, let's talk about another major area that saw some big changes in the budget bill: student attendance and truancy laws. And this is a big one for districts, right, Sara?
Yeah, we've seen different pieces of legislation introduced over the years to try to help schools address student absences and, the adverse impacts that those absences can have on student learning. Previously, students that were considered habitually truant, is what they call them under the statute, they were required to be assigned to absence intervention teams. And the statute was pretty prescriptive about what those teams looked like, who served on them, and what happened if a child failed to make good, satisfactory progress on the plans that were established by those teams. We have new language now in the budget that's going to require districts to adopt a policy that's going to address student absences. And that policy is going to be required to do a couple of things. One, districts are now going to have to identify strategies in those policies to prevent chronic absenteeism, and they need to include a tiered system of interventions and supports to help students and their families address the root causes of those absences.
So it sounds like there's going to be a lot more flexibility then for districts in creating these policies, right?
Yeah, a lot more flexibility, but with that flexibility, there does come this required collaboration under the policy or under the statute. So when developing those policies, districts have to consult with the juvenile court as well as the parents or the guardians of the students in the district. And it also says other appropriate state and local agencies must be consulted. So, districts are also encouraged to partner with a lot of groups. The statute mentions public, non-public, and private entities to help find and offer resources to students and their families in reducing absences.
So speaking of support and assistance, this probably seems like a good time to plug our upcoming attendance, tuition, custody workshop that's on August 1st. And Jenny, you'll be covering any of these new topics, these new attendance topics in that workshop, right?
Absolutely. We have a whole session that's devoted to attendance enforcement, taught by an attorney who used to work for former ODE. And she's going to be talking about these changes as well as all of the other obligations that districts have with respect to attendance. There are also going to be sessions on providing services to students who are from immigrant families, navigating disputes about establishing district of residence and tuition obligations. There's a session on common and uncommon enrollment scenarios with a panel discussion.
Yeah.
And then we're going to wrap up with a session on wellness and stress management. This enrollment folks have a hard job, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how they can manage that. It's one of the largest workshops we do every year. It's a great opportunity for people who work in this area to network and learn a lot of new things and how to do their jobs better.
Yeah, and this, I mean, when you look at it, who are some of the people that you typically see come to this workshop?
Attendance officers, EMIS coordinators, folks who work in this space, people who are right in the front door when new families come to the district.
And again, it's August 1st. You can attend in person at the Columbus Hilton, right? North?
We have two options, right?
Yeah.
You have an in-person option and a hybrid option.
Exactly. So you can attend from your desk, or you can come and network with your fellow EMIS professionals at the Hilton Polaris.
Hilton Polaris, yes. I want to make sure I got that right because I said Columbus.
Plenty of parking right near the highway.
Well, we hope to see everyone there. Again, you can register on our website. That's ohioschoolboards.org. And as always, if you have any questions about these new laws, Jenny and Sara are standing by at their telephones or their emails.
That's right. Operators are standing by. You can always give us a call. The legal hotline is available as a resource for you. That phone number is 855 OSBA Law. And that hotline is designed specifically for these types of calls. So legal calls from members, we hope you'll use it. We love talking to members and answering these types of questions and directing you to these type of resources that might help.
It's answered 24/7, but it is not manned 24/7. We'll get back to you right away, though.
Yes.
Well, Jenny and Sara, thank you again for all this information on the Legal Edge Sidebar, and we'll see you all next time.